Hey guys, welcome to the official first, would I say, instructional video for my guitar journey. My name is David, and today we will be talking about scales, major scales, what they are, how not to practice them, how not to think about scales, because I've seen a lot of information out there, and God, some people, I don't know what you're thinking. Just want to start out by telling you guys what a scale is, or at least my perception of what it is. So a scale is a collection of notes. It's a gathering of different notes which has a very specific harmonic makeup or harmonic structure or intervallic construction. You know, that construction or structure give the scale its very specific qualities. That's when you think about that every scale out there is different. Even if it's just by one single note, the harmonic minor scale, for example, is different, very different to the natural minor scale, and they are only one different note, which is the last note, the natural seventh or the major seventh, however you want to call it, and that's enough to make the scale a whole world different to the first one. Now, I try to visualize scales, as a sound in my head, if there's anything in my head, of course, rather than seeing scales as a fingering pattern. I try to, understand how the intervals connect, how the specific sounds of specific scales relate to each other, as opposed as this scale looks like this, or it fingers like that, and blah blah blah. That's not how I look at scales. Now, that's the theoretical, logistic part, that pops into my mind. Now, there's the technical aspect of scales. How to play scales, how to play a major scale, for example. Today we're going to be talking about the major scale, and I will show you guys what I think about how most people play the scales and what they say, and why I think it's not convenient. I also want to tell you how we are practicing the scales, and how can we make our practice a little bit more fruitful, more productive, in terms of how we connect to the scale and to what we can do with scales. So let's talk about the A major scale just for the sake of naming a root. So let's start with A major. A major scale looks like this. That's one of the most played fingering for A major scale, and there are many others, believe me, many other ways of playing the scale. One of them would be like this. But that's not practical. That's not just practical. You cannot make music like moving your head all along the fretboard in such a elongated fashion, right? So there's another way, of course, of making this scale happen, which is like this, which is the famous 3-note per string pattern. There's also another pattern that I usually play a lot, which is this one. Now there's nothing wrong with making choices. So if you want to stick to the 3-note per string, you can certainly do it. If you want to stick to this, I call them like a closed hand position or closed hand fingerings, because they keep my hand like comfortably. You know, you can stick to whatever pattern you might like. But here's the thing, right? And by the way, I don't want you to think that, oh, David is explaining the thing, this is how it should be played. No, I don't want anyone to misunderstand what I'm saying, you know. Like I said, as long as you play the notes in the scale, the correct notes, you're pretty much doing all right. But what I think about these specific positions is this. I think that for most guys, right, and for most human beings, our hands are just a functioning part of our body that's designed to get a grip, right? We use our hands to get a grip of stuff, to hold stuff, to, you know, to free stuff. So it's basically designed anatomically to clench, and it's, I don't know, it feels a little bit weird to make these guitar positions like because they are not designed to do these stretches or these crazy things going on like this. I think that our hands work so much better when they are in comfortable positions and you know, where I say gripping patterns like this one, where we don't have to stretch out our fingers or create weird spacings between this guy or these two guys or these two guys or these two guys. I've seen many different fingerings, and of course they are all okay. But from my own experience, I do believe that our hands would work a lot better if we stick to one finger per fret positions, or like gripping fingerings and this kind of stuff, or this one. Now, there's one little thing that I just discovered after doing it for many years, and there's a very significant difference between the 3-note per string patterns and the other ones that people call caged patterns. You know, it's just a name. And the main difference is that each and every pattern set our hand up for going in a very specific way because of the finger that we start the pattern with. For example, if we go with 3-note per strings, A major scale, we should get something like this. but you know, there's not much, or should I say, there's no finger mileage that we can use beyond this one, right? So if we want to go down the scale to the, you know, go down the scale to this area of the fretboard, we should, you know, make like a big hand shift and get a different position, so where we can play the scale, right? But and it also happens, this kind of stuff with this fingering, when we start our scale with this pinky one, which is, I mean, if we want to go up, there's not much we can do other than make a huge position shift with us with our hand, and that's not very convenient. So my very personal preference is to begin my pattern with you know, our favorite finger, which is this one. Sorry guys, but if we use the middle finger to start our scales, we have the best of both worlds. In saying this, I want to show you guys that and if we wanna make like a, we don't have to, there's not, I mean, the reach, the opportunity, the possibility of reaching new notes with this one finger, it's already there. So if it's there, why not start using it? That's the only reason why I prefer this kind of fingering over 3-note per string approach. Yes, you might be right in saying, oh, you know what, but there are some strings that only come with 2 notes for that pattern, and you know, so on. But it's good practice to try to figure out scales in as many ways as possible. You know, knowledge is not heavy on your back, so it's better to know it, and that thing, that knowledge will be right there for you, ready to use it when you need it. And you know, it's not rocket science, it's not complicated, it just takes a little bit of, you know, attention and practice, of course, and you'll figure it out eventually, and your ears will figure out the, you know, the fingerings, because it's not just the mechanical thing. You have to be aware of what you're playing with your left hand and this one. It makes a lot of sense once you start getting it under your fingers. Believe me, that it does make a lot of sense. Now, how can we possibly practice scales? Well, I'm going to tell you what everybody says. Yeah, use the metronome. Use the metronome and get comfortable with every click, with every speed, bring it up, blah, blah, blah. But that's not just enough. You have to go and make your practice time fruitful, productive. And what I mean by saying this is, we cannot sit for any period of time playing just this, and then play it faster, and then faster, and so on. That's, you know, that kind of practice routine has no musical value at all, because playing it slow it's the same thing as playing it fast, so it doesn't force you to think about what you're playing. And music, I always believe that music is a very intellectual thing to do. So what I want you guys to do is to figure out more creative ways of practicing your scales. Now, one of these ways that I will discuss today is melodic patterns, or melodic sequences, or just sequences. There's been, a lot of guys talking about sequences. Paul Gilbert is one of them. John Petrucci uses sequences a lot. Yngwie Malmsteen, he was the one that, one of the stars of the sequencing scales and that kind of stuff. But guess what? The sequences that are traditional to guitarists like these guys that I just mentioned are usually very, very, very short. And I will venture to say that they were just created to facilitate mechanical development rather than melodical development. So I would recommend you guys to start creating your own sequences that are longer than 6 notes. For example, this one. There's 8 notes right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we can take this one and run through the scale, and we will end up having something like this. If you want to go 3 notes per string with that one, it would be something like this. So on. And if you want to try to use the other pattern like I was suggesting you guys, it would be something like that's not designed to facilitate that technical speedy execution, but you can bring it up to a good click, say and so on. And you can possibly do them with the rest of the patterns, and it's not also the only melodic pattern that you can possibly create. There's lots. It pretty much depends on how imaginative you can be with your scales. There's one like this. There's shorter ones like so on, that you can create. I really encourage you to create your own long sequences and transpose it to the scale pattern of your choice, and try to, you know, remember how the pattern sounds, and how it relates to the last one that you just played, and how it fingers, how it feels under your fingers. There's technical difficulties in whatever scale fingering that you choose. For example, there's this one with the first one that I showed you. This one, this area here, it's a little bit of a stretchy one. So it can be a little bit tricky. Like I said, every pattern has its own technical difficulties, and it's just a matter of sitting down, putting the hours, practice, you know, with reasonable speed. You know, if you want to try and do it really fast, that's up to you. But speed doesn't come overnight. You have to be conscious of that, and you have to really be conscious of these little things, these little technical things, in order to overcome them. So, you know, practice consciously. I want you to start practicing consciously. I want you to think about how you practice your scales. I want you to be critical of your own playing, and your own physical limitations. I just don't want you to go and tell you to do something that you are not comfortable with, but I would really like you to try and start viewing scales for what they really are. It's just a collection of notes that you can use to create music. It's not just like a technical thing. It's not a fingering pattern. It's certainly not a diagram. A scale is just a bunch of notes that they have this very specific, you know, kind of vibe, kind of sound. And the cool thing that we can do with scales is making music. So here I am, I'm signing off. I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I will come with more of this kind of stuff for you guys very, very soon. Thanks for watching.